In the heart of Greenfield County, one quiet farmer woke up to find her land hijacked by a wedding she never approved. What happened next wasn't revenge. It was a lesson in grace, grit, and standing your ground. This is the story of how Ruth Ellison turned farm animals into a statement, and a rooster into a symbol of rural resistance. Sometimes, justice doesn't knock, it trots in on four legs. The morning started quiet. Greenfield County always woke up slowly, with the sound of roosters over hills and tractors warming up before the sun fully settled in. Ruth Ellison stepped outside with her usual cup of black coffee, already planning her day. Feed the goats, check the fencing on the southern slope, pick up supplies in town before noon. But that morning, something felt off. At the end of her gravel driveway, a white tent rose like a circus beast. Velvet carpet rolled down the access road. A DJ tested massive speakers, sending thudding bass lines across her pasture. Bouquets of pastel flowers lined the perimeter. Ruth blinked. There were people, dozens of them, setting up folding chairs and fake wooden backdrops that made her real barn look like a movie set. And then there was the bride, twirling in designer white lace. Karen Whitmore posed in front of a rented floral arch, her assistant brushing glitter on her shoulders. Cameras flashed. Ruth walked up slowly, still holding her coffee, boots crunching the gravel. "Excuse me," she said gently. A man with a clipboard turned, gave her a quick glance, then called out, "Vendor check-in is around the side, but please don't disturb the bride." "I'm not a vendor," Ruth said. "This is my property." Karen turned, blinking behind false lashes. "Oh, hi there. Yeah, we rented the scenic view through Scenic Spaces, net. They said the driveway had a rustic aesthetic." Ruth raised an eyebrow. "That rustic aesthetic is my only access road. My feed truck can't get through." Karen gave a practiced smile, the kind that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Can't your truck, go around the barn or something? We're only here for the weekend. It's a pretty big day for us." Ruth stared. Her silence stretched uncomfortably. But Karen turned back to the photographer like the conversation was over. By late morning, the animals still hadn't been fed. Her cattle lowed from the eastern pasture, and her chickens wandered confused near the barn. Her farm had become a backdrop for someone else's fantasy. She could have yelled, she could have called the sheriff in a rage. But Ruth Ellison didn't shout. She planned. She called Kyle, her nephew and a law student at the county college, and asked him to meet her. By the time he arrived, she had already pulled out the old zoning records and dusted off a forgotten binder. "You remember the county education parade ordinance?" she asked. Kyle's eyes lit up. "The livestock clause, exactly." By 11:30, they had a permit approved and signed by the county clerk, an educational livestock parade scheduled for noon, designed to promote agricultural awareness. Route right down Ruth's driveway. At 12:01, Ruth rolled slowly over the velvet carpet on her vintage tractor, chin high. Behind her, goats in bells and bows trotted with ribbons around their horns. Cows with flower crowns lumbered down the lane. Chickens scattered, pecking at bits of cake dropped on the ground. Atop the final float stood Sinatra, the family rooster perched proudly, crowing with theatrical timing. The wedding unraveled in moments. A goat nibbled the bride's veil. One cow leaned against the archway. It collapsed like wet cardboard. Guests screamed. The DJ tripped over a runaway sheep. Karen, in horror, shouted. "What the hell is this Ellison annual livestock parade?" Ruth said, handing her a copy of the permit. Karen's face flushed red. Just then, Sheriff Doyle pulled up, stepping out of his truck with a slow smile. He reviewed the permit and tipped his hat. "Looks like everything checks out. This is legally sanctioned," he said. "Have a nice parade, Ruth." The story didn't end there. A guest had filmed the entire thing and posted it online. The video exploded across social media. Farmer crashes. Influencer wedding with cow parade became the headline. Memes of Sinatra, the Rooster circulated globally. Hashtags like hashtag justice for Ruth and hashtag Karen wedding fail trended within days. Karen was furious. She posted an edited video painting Ruth as aggressive, adding dramatic music and slow-motion shots of the collapse. She even cried on a lifestyle podcast, claiming she was targeted by rural hate culture. But Greenfield County knew Ruth. They showed up the next weekend to support her new event, the Ellison Community Livestock Fair. It wasn't a protest. It was a celebration. Kids rode hay carts. Old folks entered pie contests. A local band played near the silo. The smell of corn dogs and fresh earth filled the air. Meanwhile, Karen tried to reshoot her wedding photos in a nearby field, but most of her team disappeared, some drawn to the fair itself. Even her photographer wandered off to pet a donkey. When she confronted the security guard, he was eating cotton candy next to a pig named Junebug. That night, Ruth and Kyle sat by the fire, toasting marshmallows. "You think she'll try again?" Kyle asked. "Maybe," Ruth said. "But this land has roots. She can't fake that." She was right. Weeks later, Karen filed a complaint demanding damages. $11,000 for emotional distress and event disruption. Ruth burned the letter. Then came another. Karen had hired a private law firm, threatening to sue for defamation. But Ruth didn't flinch. Karen's last move came at a town hall meeting. She proposed a community aesthetic mandate meant to ban livestock within certain visual zones, claiming it would protect neighborhood image. The town wasn't having it. An elderly woman stood up and said, "Ruth's cows are better behaved than half the kids in this town." Laughter erupted. The motion was crushed. Karen left in silence. No speeches, no cameras. Just a glossy handout left in the town hall foyer titled, "Vision for Greenfield." No one took a copy. That same week, Ruth received a letter from the Greenfield Gazette, nominating her for a Cultural Integrity Award. Kyle read it aloud twice, choking on the second read. She pinned the letter beside a photo of Sinatra standing proudly atop a hay bale. The final time Karen passed the farm, she slowed her car, but didn't stop. She left a laminated sign taped to Ruth's mailbox, with printed bullet points about visual cohesion and rural branding. Ruth didn't even take it inside. That evening, as the sun fell behind the hills, neighborhood kids returned to visit the animals. Ruth handed out carrots and let them ride her old tractor. The laughter was real. The dust was warm, and the land, as always, spoke for itself.